I think we will make a start then, everybody. So thank you so much for joining us all this morning on, well, I'm not sure about anybody else, but it's a very rainy Monday lunchtime for me here. So thank you so much for joining us. My name is Charlotte and I work with the PPMA. Unfortunately, our sponsor from Opus couldn't make it today, but they are the sponsor of this award and they send their apologies. So I will be introducing our highly commended award submission today. I'm joined by Sue and Julie from Stockport Metropolitan Borough Council for the Best Health and Wellbeing Initiative highly commended submission. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Julie and Sue, and they are going to do their presentation for you today.
Thank you, Charlotte. That's lovely. So as Charlotte said, my name's Sue G. I'm a senior officer on our workforce development team here at Stockport Council, and myself and Julie this morning will be presenting together today. So we've helped both grow the Wellbeing Champion scheme and do a lot of work around supporting our wellbeing programme at the council. Yeah, great to be here this morning, and we're really delighted to have received the highly commended for Stockport Council's Wellbeing Champion scheme, and appreciate having this time to tell you a bit more about it. We're really proud of the scheme and everything that we've achieved so far, so great to talk a bit more about it. Julie, do you want to say a quick hello before we start? Or
yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Julie Green and colleague of Sue. I'm a workforce development manager. We work in the same team, and yes, really proud of the Wellbeing Champions scheme and everything that's come out of it since we launched it a couple of years ago. So yeah, happy to be telling you all about what we've been doing.
Thanks, Julie. Charlotte, are you okay to go on to the next slide, please? So first of all, we thought it might be nice just to give you a little bit of background on Stockport and how the scheme came about. Stockport itself is going through a really ambitious time. There's great transformations happening in Stockport at the minute, and it's a really exciting place to live and to work as well. We really want Stockport to be a place where everybody across the borough is really proud to live. Stockport is part of our Greater Manchester family and has a population of over 294,000 residents. We have great relations with our GM partners and our local partners, and we've been going through some really exciting changes. So we were so delighted to have been recognised as the best place to live in the Northwest by the Sunday Times, but we're also facing some really big challenges. So we are in the top 10 most polarised boroughs in the country, and we're very much aware that there are many inequalities and life chances can be very different across the borough depending on where you live in Stockport. But that's something that we're tackling as part of our One Borough plan, which outlines our ambitions for the borough and for our residents. Can we go to the next slide, please, Charlotte?
So again, just a little bit more of the background and I guess what drives the way we work. So as a council and as an organisation, we have a very clear vision and mission and set of values that underpin how we do things. And as Sue said, that vision is about people being really proud to live in Stockport and to call it their home. That's one of the things that we're really we're wanting people to say about living in Stockport. and that our mission is to create opportunities for everybody in Stockport, and those opportunities are for Stockport residents and also for our employees. And all of that is underpinned by these set of values that we've got, which really are there to sort of define how we go about our business, in that we always think about Stockport in whatever we're doing, and that we do it together as a team, and that the work that we do, we're ambitious in how we go about it, but we always do it in a respectful way. And one of the other things that we have in place to sort of support our delivery of this is a one team people plan that we developed from 2020, and it's been refreshed a number of times. And the people plan is our way of creating those internal opportunities so that people can grow and thrive in the organisation. And the foundation of that is about supporting everybody's well-being. And so within the people plan, there are 5 pillars, and one of the pillars is titled Feeling Supported, and that's where the work of the Wellbeing Champions and the Wellbeing Champions scheme sort of sits under. So I'll talk about that a little bit more. If you can move onto the next slide, Charlotte, please. So as you can see, the Wellbeing Champions scheme sits under this idea, this pillar of feeling supported. And this pillar acknowledges that well-being is a priority, and that everybody should feel valued and supported in the organisation. And that whenever we're working with each other, that we put the fact that we are human beings, that we are people first, and then all of our, the profession and the way that we go about doing our work is the second thing. But we're always remembering that as people, that idea comes first. So, like I said, we launched the scheme in 2022, but we were planning on actually launching a Wellbeing Ambassador scheme in 2019, 2020, just before COVID happened. So we had to put that on hold whilst we dealt with the sort of immediate crisis that presented itself in March of 2020. And so in 2021, we were thinking about perhaps now is the time to sort of re-look at the Wellbeing Champion scheme. It was called Wellbeing Ambassadors at the time, and thinking about, so how do we go about it? Do we want it to stay exactly the same as the work that we'd done previously, or do we want it to be different? So we contacted lots of different people, lots of different organisations that already had a Wellbeing Champion scheme. We did a lot of reading, we had focus groups internally, we had a survey, just to check whether we were on the right lines, whether things needed to be different or not. We also ran an all-colleague survey in 2022, and that really cemented the idea that actually the champion scheme is needed, because people said that they knew about wellbeing and the offer, quite a lot of people, but not enough people said that they knew how to access it. So we knew that the Wellbeing Champion scheme was the right time to start it. We didn't launch it exactly the same. We changed its name from the views of people. They felt that champion was better than ambassador. And we took out mental health first aid as a responsibility which had been in the original ambassador scheme. And that was from feedback from people who were interested in becoming a champion, because they felt that they might not have had the skills and ability to be a mental health first aider. And we wanted to make it as an inclusive scheme as possible. So it was a deliberate decision not to include that when we relaunched it. So I'm going to hand over to Sue. She's going to give you a little bit more information about the scheme and how it's grown, really.
Thank you. Can you move the slides on, please, Charlotte, to the next one? So just give you a bit of an overview of the scheme. As Julie said, the scheme really reflects our corporate values. So that's all around caring for the health and well-being of the workforce, and just that emphasis on how employees are the most important asset for the organisation. So currently, we've got 73 active wellbeing champions across 50 teams in the council. So this has increased a little bit since we entered the award. It was 66 when we entered, and we're now on 73, which just shows how we're continually growing the group, which is really great. And wellbeing champions share information about wellbeing across the workforce, and signpost colleagues to our wellbeing hub and other resources that we have. So they're also promoting wellbeing across the organisation, but they're also ambassadors for wellbeing in everything that they do. One of the really nice things about the group is that everybody is welcome to join. So it doesn't matter what level you are or how long you've worked for the council, you can join the group. And that really links in nicely with our corporate values of being one team and of us all achieving things together. The group is also really nice as it's its own support network. So as well as signposting initiatives, we're also a really lovely supportive group as well to each other. We link in quite a lot with our employee networks, and we've got chairs and members from our employee networks in the Wellbeing Champions group, which is really brilliant. So during Men's Month in November, we put on a special week called Talk More, where we had a lunch and learn panel to talk about men's health and well-being. So this was promoted through our chief exec's video blog, and one of our wellbeing champions suggested that we reached out to colleagues in our equality engagement groups, and members from our Palettes of Colour network group and our LGBTQ plus network group joined the panels and were part of that session. And one of the colleagues from the network group came and really thanked us for including them. And they said it was a really overwhelming the amount of positive feedback that they'd received after the event. So they loved the fact that we got them involved, but also the brilliant feedback that they had too afterwards. We've also got colleagues from our menopause group in the Wellbeing Champions group, and they've created initiatives such as a menopause cafe where colleagues can meet in a really friendly and supportive environment. And another one of our Wellbeing Champions created a separate new network. So they've created a bereavement network, which again is a really lovely supportive space, and it's an informal place for other colleagues to meet who've experienced bereavement. And that's quite a new group, but it's already had some really great feedback from the members. So as you can see from the spread on the slide, our group includes colleagues from right across the organisation, including public health, and we're really proud of the way that we're all working together as one team to support our colleagues' well-being and coming up with those different and innovative ways to do that. Okay, so can we move on to the next slide, please, Charlotte? And Julie's going to talk a little bit more around how the group works.
Okay, so one of the other things that we've got in place as well as the Wellbeing Champions is a very active wellbeing steering group, and we've got a wellbeing strategy that goes alongside that. And so whilst the Wellbeing Champions group is very organic in its sort of the way that it has developed, there is some crossover. So Sue and I are part of the steering group, and the chair of the steering group, Vicky Bates, is also a member of the Wellbeing Champions, and we've got some other Wellbeing Champions in the steering group as well. So there's a really sort of strong link between the steering group, which is really about how we're delivering wellbeing right across the organisation. And the Wellbeing Champions is about coming up with innovative ideas and asking teams, how can we improve wellbeing? And we feed that back up into the Wellbeing Steering Group. So the other thing that we've got in place is a calendar of events. So that's again one of the things that the champions share. And going back to Vicky, actually, she came up with the idea of having a photography competition, and so that's some of the winning photographs that you can see on there. That I think it's of Lytham, one of them. So yeah, so that's become an annual event. So we've got a Teams chat. We share lots of different ideas in there. Like Sue said, it's a really lovely supportive group of people. So, you know, we offer support to each other, but we share different ideas, and champions give ideas back about things that their teams would like us to be doing. We've got a SharePoint site that's got all the information about the role and sort of any other different ideas and resources. We've got a newsletter that goes out on a monthly basis with the idea that the champions distribute it to their teams. We have a quarterly hybrid meeting where we all get together as a group of champions. We have external and internal guest speakers around wellbeing, because that's one of the things that the champions said that they wanted to improve, was their knowledge about wellbeing, so that they could share it across their teams. And we have one of the really lovely additions, and again, this came from one of the champions, was to invite a senior leader to come and talk about their wellbeing. So they talk about how they create a culture of wellbeing within their area that they lead, but also looking after the wellbeing of their direct reports, and also how they look after their own wellbeing. And that has been one of the, I think, the highlights of the quarterly meetings, is because the senior leaders have really shown some sort of rawness and vulnerability about how they do that, and certainly during the ups and downs of COVID and the challenges that posed. And they've said, the senior leaders have said, that they really benefited from being invited, and all the wellbeing champions have loved the fact that somebody has come and shown that we are all people doing the best that we can to support each other's wellbeing. I just wanted to share a quote, and then I'm going to pass over to Sue. So this came from the assistant branch leader of our union, Unison. And she said that we are pleased to work alongside human resources and organisational development colleagues at Stockport Council to create a culture where wellbeing truly matters. Through the Wellbeing Champions initiative, Stockport Council really is ahead of the game in the work it is doing. And we are pleased to support the implementation of initiatives that enhance the wellbeing of each individual. So can you move us on? Is that okay?
Thanks, Julie. So as we've said, Wellbeing Champions help spread the word about what's available to colleagues. So just to give you a bit of an idea of our wellbeing offer, the minimum ask that we have is for people in the groups to signpost to the offer. So they are ambassadors of wellbeing, but the minimum ask is that they share the Wellbeing offer. So we have a dedicated intranet page, which is called the Wellbeing Hub. This has information and all around support and signposting, and it also details our upcoming wellbeing events. We also have free counselling sessions and coaching support from our dedicated pool of coaches, which Julie and myself are also part of that group of coaches. And there's a lot of public health signposting as well, offers in the community. So a lot of things through Healthy Stockport, and support includes our START team. So our START team is where people can refer in to get lifestyle support and changes there. And we also have VivUp and Optima, which Julie's going to cover in the next slides. So if we're okay to move on again, Charlotte, thank you.
So yeah, so VivUp, they deliver our employee assistance program. So they are quite well known across the country. So this is where people can go to if they need any support around their well-being, and it can be around their mental health. It can be around physical or financial or personal well-being. There's no sort of barriers about what the conversations are about. I think what's really important and supportive is that it's a confidential space, so nobody is able to find out who's contacted, and that they can be contacted. This specialist and counselling support can be contacted at any time through the day or night and all the way through the year. So that's a really important addition. The other, I think, really helpful aspect is that leaders can also contact VivUp about any particular challenge that they might be experiencing as well. This is all telephone support, and Sue's already mentioned that we've got counselling support that is local to Stockport. So if anybody wants face-to-face counselling, then obviously they can access it in that way. So if we move on to just talk a little bit about Optima's offer. So yeah, so the Optima offer comes from our occupational health provider, and it's a wellbeing app that people can download onto their phones, and it has the most amazing amount of information that you could ever wish to search for in terms of how we look after the sort of four main topics: healthy body, healthy mind, healthy life, and healthy work. And you can search for any sort of guidance about any particular topic that you could think of. It has a monthly theme. There's loads of podcasts that people can download and listen to, and there's also a separate section for managers, and there's a manager's blog and a question and answer in that. So again, another really helpful wellbeing app that people can use whenever they want, really. All right, to move on.
Okay, thank you. So research shows that people take more notice of information and communications given to people that they know and that are shared by their peers. So we have noticed a lot more people coming to the wellbeing sessions since we've had the scheme, because we've got more of an access for people to be able to hear and spread the word, really. So where people don't have access to laptops, they're being shared more about the initiatives. So these are some of the things that we've been doing. We've trained walk leaders through the Ramblers, and we now run monthly wellbeing walks from our civic complex. We've got different walks to green spaces such as parks, and we've got some urban walks taking in local street art, and we've adapted these walks to 30 minutes as well, so that they're more accessible to more people. We've done various wellbeing fairs, so you can see some of the adverts for these on the screen there. And we've done bulb planting events as well, just to make more use of that outdoor space that we've got, and to encourage people to get up and move from their desk. So the spring wellbeing fair that you can see over on the left hand side there, we put on lots of activities. We did qigong, acupressure, there was blood pressure checks, and we made it a really fun event. So we had performances from the choir and food stalls, and it was also a chance for people to meet some of our employee networks as well, and partners as well. For our Men's Health Wellbeing Month, we had stalls from community groups around men's health. So Men in Sheds came along, and there was also health screenings. And again, we did some fun things. So there was a Scalextrics competition, and Life Leisure came along and did some fitness challenges as well. We have a Mind, Body and Bank Account event, which is focused around finance. And as Julie earlier said, the competition, the photography competition, and these events are now part of the yearly calendar. So we're going to keep running these every year. We've done so many different things. We've done a community litter pick, dog walks. We've set up a book group, a monthly book group for colleagues, and created Bring a Book spaces on each of our floors in the Civic Complex. You can see colleagues there on the right hand side being encouraged to wear green for Mental Health Awareness Week. And we've asked people to complete Revive Our training as part of Healthy Heart Month. One of our wellbeing champions created our workplace choir. So that's over in the bottom left there. They're called the Stockportians. And we've also done sessions around yoga and campaigns such as Move More in May. The lovely little greyhound there is a pet therapy dog, which we've had a couple of visits from. And we've also done a Virgin Walking Challenge last summer. So 365 colleagues signed up to that and created 67 teams, which ran over 9 weeks. So that's all around creating those new habits about being active. We've also promoted Dementia Friends training, where we're trying to make Stockport Council a dementia-friendly organisation. And there's loads more. That's just some of the stuff that we've been doing as wellbeing champions. And one of the things that the champions have also told us is that being able to get involved has really enabled them to be more creative too, outside their normal roles, which has had a knock-on effect and really improved their well-being too, which is really nice to hear. Can you change to the next slide, please, Charlotte? So just thinking about what's next, we're really ambitious for the future and we want to build on the success. So we've done a lot, but we want to keep growing and we want to keep building. So just to give you an idea of some of the numbers from previous events, 268 attendees to our spring wellbeing event. Last year we had 46 entries to the photography competition. 28 colleagues have joined a walk this year, and 58 colleagues have attended a mindfulness session. So we want to grow those numbers, and in terms of the group, we want to aim for 100 active members across more teams. So ideally, we'd love to have a wellbeing champion in every team across the council. That would be our ambition. So yeah, just to grow the scheme and to do as much with it as we can. I'll just pass over to Julie to talk about the impact. So can you move on to the next slide, please, Charlotte? Thank you.
So this is our last slide, by the way, because I know we're over a couple of minutes over. So yeah, so all of this activity is like what has it achieved, if you like, and actually I think the numbers in terms of sickness absence reduction it's nearly 10%. That's been the change. So we've actually reduced sickness from I think 10.77 to 9.82, so nearly a 10% reduction in sickness absence, and an increase in people feeling more supported, and that is based on the wellbeing the surveys, the all colleague surveys that we did in 2020 and 2023, 2022 and 2023. With more people saying that they know how to access physical and emotional health, that's increased. And also people have said that there's been an increase in people telling us that they feel trusted by their line manager, that they trust their line manager, and that they feel that they're being treated fairly, and that they feel that they've been listened to, and which all of that contributes to people's well-being. And I wanted to include one of the quotes from the people who are in the choir that Sue mentioned. She said it's been a most amazing experience to sing in some of the places that the group have sang in, and that for her, singing brings me a happiness that I didn't know existed. So that's like just a beautiful sort of extra addition to them. They just didn't know that they were going to feel so great by being part of the group. So I'm just going to finish with some quotes. So we asked our wellbeing champions what they thought about being in the scheme. So it was like, I enjoy being able to help colleagues through advice I have learnt or signposting them. It also helps me for being part of a supportive community, like we said before. I like looking after my own well-being as well as supporting people around me. I love seeing the cascade effect of putting people at the heart of what we do. That is happening around the organisation from our wellbeing champions. And I really enjoy being part of the group. Everyone is lovely, and I find out lots of information, useful information. I love being a port of call for my team and keeping well-being high on the agenda. And I'm just going to finish with this quote, like, I am proud to be a wellbeing champion. Wellbeing is the golden thread that runs through everything we do at our council. That's it. So thank you for listening. I hope you've found it useful, and we can I know there were some questions in the chat, and we can contact people with answers to that. That's okay.
Thank you so much, ladies. That was such a wonderful presentation, and so great to hear about all the wonderful things that you've achieved so far and continuing to achieve by the sounds of it. So thank you so much. I'm aware we're sort of at time, but I thought that if you both could hang around for a second, we might answer a couple of the questions. Obviously, that anybody that does have to leave, the recording will be available next week. But anybody that wants to hang around, we might just answer the couple questions that were popped in the chat. So, ladies, how do you attract new members or invite them to join as champions? And there is a second question that's just carried on from that, but I'll let you answer that one first.
Do you want to do that, Sue?
Yeah, that's fine. So it's word of mouth, really. So as people join the scheme, they share things in their teams. So they'll talk about being a wellbeing champion, and it spreads it in that way. We also have stands at our events. So for example, there's a flu vaccination event that's happening in October, so we'll have a wellbeing champion stand there. And so as people come out from having the flu jab, we'll be there and people can find out a bit more about the scheme. We have a form that people can fill in. So there are links to the form on our intranet, and people can put forward an expression of interest, and then we'll contact them, tell them a bit more about it, and just see if they're interested and talk a bit more about what the scheme means, really.
Brilliant. And I think carrying on from that, probably a similar question, but Bethany has asked, how do you recruit, retain, and award the champions?
So recruiting, I suppose recruiting is similar to what we've
Yeah.
said. So we ask for feedback, and I think just because it's such a supportive group, that's how we retain the people that are in it, and we very much talk about it being their group, and I think that makes a big difference. So it's not us telling them how the group should be. We very much ask them to tell us what they want from the group, and I think that makes a big difference to how people feel about being part of it. In terms
I
of,
think people enjoy being in the group, and they find it really supportive, and it's been a really creative outlet for quite a lot of people. Like Sue said, somebody said it's one of the main reasons that they stay in the organisation, that they've been allowed to champion it, and being encouraged to introduce some new initiatives. So I think when people join, they stay. That's been the experience of it, really.
Brilliant. Okay.
We don't have an award for people being part of the, no.
No. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Sophie has asked, how much time off the job do you expect the champions to dedicate to this role? And do managers need to agree capacity when individuals are joining?
So we do ask people to contact their manager and have permission from their manager for joining the group, and we ask them to speak to their manager about how they want it to work in their team, because as you saw earlier, we've got so many different teams. We've got people remote, people out in the community, so it works very differently for all those individuals depending on what their role is. And in terms of capacity, there's not a set amount that people have to do. So we'll have some people who are very active, who get very involved with some of the events and things, and other people who will just be sharing those events and have a less active role. So, and that can change depending on their capacity at the time. So I think that's a really nice part of the group, again, that it's quite fluid and it's not set that you must spend X amount of time. It's very much depends on the individuals.
Okay, brilliant. We've got Teresa, who has, along with a lot of other people, congratulated you on all your hard work in the presentation. She has asked about what budget you have to work with this.
We don't have a budget.
Okay, there we go. That was a quick answer. Fabulous.
No, we don't. It's all been from everybody's sort of hard work and willingness and different ideas. But we ourselves, we don't have a budget.
Okay.
But another thing to mention is some of our wellbeing champions have come and they've brought skills. So, for example, the PA to our what's Mark Glynn's role, Julie. Anyway, one of our PAs.
Place management.
That's right, place manager. Our PA for place does acupressure. So she came to us and said, "Oh, this is what I've got some expertise in."
Amazing.
So she did some sessions around that, and different people have come with skills that we've shared, which has been really nice.
Brilliant.
Some yoga and qigong, and it all being offered by our employees.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And then just finally, we have a question from Bethany. She says that you briefly mentioned the health and well-being strategy. Could you please expand on what this looks like and includes?
Oh. I don't know how. I mean,
It's a big
How
one.
many pages is it, Sue? There's a lot of information. I mean, I'm sure we can share it if you want us to send
Obviously,
it.
you can go back and get back to people about these questions
Yeah,
separately. So
yeah,
there you go, Bethany. That might be something that they get back to you about via email.
yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for both of you and congratulations again on the highly commended award. And thank you so much for everybody who has been able to join us today. And I think we will sign off there. Have a great week, everybody, and thank you again.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Charlotte, too.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.